I grew up in a mobile home park. We grew up super poor with a single father, me and my brother. All of that ended at a point where I was laying on a couch of a mobile home that I had bought after I got graduated high school and that I was paying for. But I had no furniture in the house. I had a big screen TV that I was renting from rent to own. I was in a bad place. I was doing a lot of drugs. I was lost. And my girlfriend at the time, I knew she was the one, but she ended up leaving me because of the place that I was in. When the snow melted the next day, I got in my car and I went to the Marine Corps recruiter. You're one decision, one conversation away from a different life. I always did the work that nobody else is willing to do.
The military taught us discipline, it taught us leadership, but it never taught us how to really build wealth and income. This is the Active Duty Passive Income Podcast, and I'm your host, Markian Sitch, a United States Marine turned full-time real estate investor and educator. I'm bringing you the most successful military, veteran, and military spouse real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and industry experts to break down exactly how they did it, so you can too. All right, we're live. Hey, ADPI Nation, it's Markian Sitch again, and today we're doing the kickoff of a series of who used to be, I don't even want to call you a student, you like outshine me like crazy, and have become coaches and mentors who we call heroes in our community and are transforming hundreds of lives, and that's without exaggeration. And so I am so pleased, so excited to bring on Joe Jackson on the podcast. And I'm just excited to hear your story. I'm excited to share the story with all of our listeners. Joe is a fellow Marine Corps veteran, crayon eater, if you will. I'm excited to have you on, man. I feel like it's been long overdue for us to just dive into your story. So welcome, Joe.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here and share anything that you may think is relevant, or just share my story. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll definitely, ask some questions along the way, but I really think that the best way is just to put yourself in the mindset of what would I want to know about my journey if I was listening to myself right now, and you were like 10 years ago, right? Because I remember you being on stage at the military real estate conference, and I could just tell that you were excited about where you were in life, and you were like super humble about it, and I mean, your numbers speak for themselves. Like you're a very, I think you're a very larger than life kind of human being, but you're also so humble, you're almost unassuming. And then you find out oh my gosh, this dude's really smart. He takes a lot of action. He loves his family, and you roll up your sleeves. And so that's what I'm excited about. So how about this?
Yeah.
Why did you join the military in the first place? Let's go in the Wayback Machine. Okay. And did any of those ingredients later inspire you to transition into entrepreneurship and real estate investing the way you did?
Yeah. Yeah. So to go back there, I will tell you, I'll start. Obviously, I grew up in a mobile home park. We grew up super poor with a single father, me and my brother. And that's kind of where my story starts, right? I watched my father, which is my hero, right? I watched him provide for two sons that, he was gone before the sun came up, and he came home after the sun set, right? And I watched that throughout life. I watched he wasn't able to come to sports games. He wasn't able to make this stuff. But you know what? He put a roof over our head. We had food on the table most of the time, and I just watched how that kind of life just beat him down. And I know kind of how I felt and how my brother felt growing up, right? Then you get into high school and you get into a little bit of a rebellious stage, and with my father being working and stuff so much, I was kind of left to my own devices, right? The funny thing is at 16, I got a job at a restaurant called Zaxby's. I don't know. Some of the country doesn't know, some of them do know, but it's Zaxby's, and it was actually founded here in Georgia.
Oh,
I worked at one of the first stores that they opened, and I was 16. I quickly worked my way from like a line cook to a general manager of the store when I was 17, and I was on track.
what?
Yeah, I was on track. I was on track to become one of the youngest owners, if you will, because the the owner of that store was the grandson of the founder, right? And so they were grooming me to be an owner of the
No
store.
kidding,
Yeah,
man.
and so I the thing is all the other kids, they would have to be home by 9 or 8 or whatever, right? And I always just did the work that nobody else is willing to do, right? I stayed behind, I closed every night. I worked the doubles on the weekends. And for a 16, 17-year-old kid making $2,000 every 2 weeks. That's a lot of money, man. But unfortunately, with a lot of money and not knowing what to do with money, you know, I wandered off, right? And I went down kind of a dark path in life. I had scholarship offers for football to the University of Alabama, to the University of
Wow.
Louisville and stuff. Number one, but my grades weren't good enough because of all the extra activities that I was into.
Right.
And so I will tell you this, all of that just ended at a point where I was laying on a couch of a mobile home that I had bought after I graduated high school and that I was paying for, right? But I had no furniture in the house. I had a big screen TV that I was renting from rent to own, right? It was a huge, well, one of the big back ones, you know what I mean? The one of the huge.
Yes, I had one of those.
Yeah,
My grandpa worked for Philips, so
yeah.
we had a big one.
Right, yeah. So no kidding. I had one, but I had a wicker couch, right? So I had a big screen TV, but I had a wicker couch that me and my friends we played. I believe it was a PS2 back then, right? And
Mm.
I had a mattress that was my bed, and then if you open my refrigerator, I literally had this huge jug of mayonnaise in there with like huge thing because my dad took me to Costco once. My stepmom took me to Costco and got me all these things for the house. Well, I ate all the food, but the only thing that was really left was the mayonnaise. Like this thing, it was like huge, right? And
How
anyways,
many years did you have that in the fridge?
right. And I was in a bad place. Like I said, I was doing a lot of drugs to tell you the truth. I was lost in my way, and my girlfriend at the time, I thought that I just knew she was the one, but she ended up leaving me because of the kind of place that I was in and stuff like that, right? And it sent me in a downward spiral. And I was
Wow.
I was on the couch, my wicker couch, under about 4 or 5 blankets because I hadn't paid the light bill and I was all alone, right? When I was making all that money and we were partying and everything, I had tons of friends, tons of friends. But once the money kind of dried up and because, I went in a downward spiral because my girlfriend at the time left me and I was just sitting there on the couch, utterly alone under blankets, right? Because it was snowing in the state of Georgia and I had no power and I was just sitting there. And I said, you know what? I was just sitting there and I was just like, man, this life's for the birds, man. This isn't for me. This isn't how I'm supposed to live. This isn't what it is. And literally when the snow melted the next day or whatever, I got in my car and I went to the Marine Corps recruiter. My dad was
No
yeah,
kidding.
my dad was
Just a snap
that
moment.
was it. Yeah, and my dad was a Marine, and I always used to hear him talk about how the Marines really helped him and everything. And I just left. I got in my car and drove right to the recruiter, and and just said, "This isn't the life for me." And then so that's kind of the reason that I joined the Marine Corps is because of that. So when you ask me, did some of the same stuff drive me to get like in real estate or whatever? Those memories are very vivid in my head on, you know, where I was in life, right? And
Hmm.
so yeah, every day that I remember that place. I remember my father's face when he couldn't make my games or whatever, right? So so yeah, I mean that every day. Like I said, I got my little post-its up here on my big monitor screen or whatever, right? Most of the people that come through the cohort, they all hear them, right? And it's if you quit now, you'll never know how close you really were to success, right?
Ouch. Yeah, that's a
Regret
good one.
hurts more than failure. You're one conversation away from a different life. And then the last one is no one is coming to save you, right? And yeah, yeah. And so yeah, like that motivation has absolutely kindled a fire in me, not just from going in the Marine Corps, and even being in the Marine Corps, being the best Marine that I could be. The Marine Corps was the easiest job I ever had in my life, right? Like, I mean, but every, everybody laughs at that, but being a general manager of a fast food restaurant, pouring concrete or doing concrete, you know, doing framing and working. I've been working, since I was like 14 years old, because
Yeah, man.
I wanted those new clothes. I didn't want to be made fun of. What's funny is these days I can afford to give my kids nice clothes, but they don't want nice clothes. They wear these, right.
I want it to be ripped up.
Right, yeah. So it's just funny because I worked so hard to get nice clothes when I was young. That way I could go to school without being made fun of. But nowadays, kids don't make fun of people with clothes, and they just wear whatever, right? And so it's funny. But anyways, yeah. So
I want to give everybody a quick snapshot of where you are right now, just super quick, 30 seconds, so that like, because I want everybody who's like, we live in a busy life,
yeah,
all right? And everybody's distracted and you're in your car, wherever you are listening to this. I want a snapshot where Joe Jackson is right now, just so you guys know how valuable this episode's going to be and how, going from point A to point B in your story. Give them a quick snapshot. Like, what are you doing today? Like, I know you're under contract on like hundreds of pads. I want to hear like what your mission is that you say all the time
yeah, yeah.
and just like how much assets under management you're wielding at this point. Can you give us a snapshot of what you've been able to do? And like, don't worry, like, I don't know, you're so humble. I'm like, I want to tell you, like, don't worry, you're not gloating. This is
Yeah.
inspiration right
Yeah.
now.
So currently we have 6 mobile home parks with a little over 650 pads or whatnot, somewhere around there. We're under contract for right now. We have about 600 pads under contract or about to be under
Wow.
contract, and
Right.
we're that will put us in 5 different states. So we'll be closing in on the 1400 mark probably before the summertime. Our goal this year,
Goodness
our
gracious.
goal this year is to hit the magical 200 pad, I mean 2000 pads. So
2000 pad.
yeah,
Okay.
currently,
Wow, that's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah. Currently we have I, I lose track, but it's around I think 55, 60 million like under management right now. So
Right.
asset management, yeah,
That's incredible. So, and you partner on these two. Like, this is you're part of the team. Like, okay, like
yeah,
you're not just so everybody's listening. Like, you're not just like a property manager. You're an asset management. You're part of the general partnership. You're growing
yeah.
these, with other partners, and it's which is a big thing that ADPI teaches how to get into this stuff. And you're kind of like that pay it forward servant leader. Like, you're training future generations to be able to do what you're doing. Which, I don't know, just huge kudos on that. Now now that everybody knows what we,
Oh,
from sleeping on the couch.
yeah. And by the way, it's my motto that I always say is
Yes, yes.
saving the world one community at a time.
Right. And specifically because if I remember correctly, because you grew up in a mobile home park, that's why that's your passion is mobile home park communities, because you know how important that is to make everybody's life there, higher quality, better, especially in the underserved ones, right?
That's right. Yes, absolutely. We take parks, trailer parks, if you will, that have been mismanaged or kind of forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
We go in there, we fix them up, and we build communities. We bring services to the communities. We give them a place that they can be proud of to bring their friends to. When somebody says, "Where do you live?" They're like, "Oh, I live in Sunview Estates." Something like that. Not I live over there in the trailer park behind whatever, right? And
Right.
yeah, so and that's a big difference, man. Because like I said, growing up, I had a lot of friends, but most of the time, my friend, I always went to everybody else's house and spent the night, right? Because there's a stigmatism between around mobile home parks that not that bad people live there, but there's shady stuff going on. I don't want my kid going to that because there's a reason that they live in a mobile home park or there's a reason that they live there. So, but now given these families, I mean, like we just got done with a property that was way underserved, and we just put about $3 million into capex into it. We brought a new clubhouse, a new swimming pool, playgrounds for the kids, picnic pavilions where they can have big barbecues. We have walking trails.
Wow.
We're putting a huge soccer field in the back for them. If my partner listens to this, hopefully you got that. But the soccer field is a thing between me and him. But yeah, no. But this is what we do with communities, and like I said, I couldn't be more grateful for the opportunities I've had in this industry and the impact that I'm having on people's lives, right?
Dude, absolutely. Now that everybody knows like where Joe Jackson is today, let's go back to okay, so you joined the Marine Corps, tongue in cheek, easiest job you ever had, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Like there's probably like I mean we all know like it's funny like I almost be want to be very real and raw with people a
yeah,
lot of times about the military reality. Like it's not always like hey, you're holding a right, an M16. It's not always that you're like in the trenches. Like a lot of times I found myself clicking on spreadsheets for 8 hours a day.
right,
Or a lot of times you're just cleaning something or
right,
you're whatever the case may be. Even as an officer, I just was like sometimes I'm just doing like
yeah,
I don't know, busy work and paperwork or whatever, or making coffee for the senior
yeah,
officers. Like it's not always that like this
yeah.
illustrious thing. And but you did you did over 20 years, right?
I did 21, yes.
Right?
Hmm.
21. Awesome. And like where, I mean, was there like a point where you're like, okay, I need to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up, right? Like,
That's exactly what I said. I I I was about a year out from retirement, right? And a retired chief warrant officer, I was like, "Oh, you put in your retirement papers?" I said, "I did, yes." And he goes, "Hey, brother, we got you a seat right here, man." And it's cubicles, right? Because I work for a Marine Corps Systems Command, which is, testing, and what it does is it puts out all of the new equipment, it fields all the new equipment to the Marine Corps, and I was a part of that and a part of the research and development portion of it and stuff like that for small arms weapons, right? But he said, "Yeah, I got a space for you. We got a space for you." And he was being genuine about it, like, "Hey, man, put in your application, come and do this, man. That's what we're gonna do." But it didn't hit me that way. It hit me in a way like, oh man, I can't be a cubicle guy. I can't work like that, right?
oh my goodness.
And
Yeah,
so I was like, what am I gonna do when I grow up, man? And I just started really
yeah.
searching for it and everything like that, right? And really praying on it. I started talking to friends about it and stuff. And one of my buddies, he was saying, "Hey, I'm into duplexes, and what we do is we go in, we fix up these duplexes, and we sell them and all this other stuff, right?" Well, I was like, "Man, that sounds amazing. Let's do that." Figuring out the math and doing all that, and I was like, "Hey, man, like we'd have to have hundreds, if not, thousands of these for me to replace the income that I kind of need to live on, because this would be my job, right?" And then it just hit me one day. I was like, "Dude, if I were going to do real estate, I know mobile home parks. I didn't know that they were actually as coveted."
As lucrative.
Yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah,
like, "Well,
yeah,
I know
yeah,
mobile
yeah.
home parks. Let me go back to that. And I started doing research and finding out, oh, well, this is a big deal. And so that's kind of how I chose that path, because of my history in the parks, and I went down that path of real estate.
So cool, so cool. And when you got it, like, how did your first deal transpire? And also, actually, let me
Yeah.
just take a step back. Did you take advantage of like residential real estate, your VA loan, or anything like that before getting into like the big leagues, so to speak?
No, no. So yeah,
Really?
no. All right. So, and I will tell you, a funny story is, and you've maybe heard this, Markian, but the way that I found ADPI was I had been looking up research in real estate and stuff, and you know how good Facebook is connecting ads,
Oh yeah.
right? And I came
Yeah,
across
yeah,
I
yeah.
came across a ADPI ad, right? And I went to it. I clicked on it. I paid the money, and I got in there. And everybody, they're talking this and that, and I'm like super excited. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get into mobile home parks. I'm gonna do this and that and everything. And well, the leader at that time, Kevin, he was like, have you talked to the multifamily side of this? And I was like, what do you mean there's a
What?
multi-family side to this? I thought that's what I was doing, right? And so yeah,
Yeah.
so anyways, from there I transitioned to the multi-family side. And as I went through the cohort, then it blew my mind with the knowledge and everything that, and the motivation that they got poured into me going through the cohorts, right? Tim Kelly was a huge part of that in mindset, because I'll be honest with you, when I was first going through there, through the cohort and everything, I really thought that mindset was something that rich people just kind of played around with.
Yeah, like the hippie woo woo
Yeah,
stuff,
right.
right?
Yeah. And I was like, dude, like nobody's got time for that, dude. Like strap your boots on and let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
And
Right,
but
right, right.
but I committed to 100%. I'm going to do what they said will work, right? And so I put into effect time blocking. I did all the, mindset stuff, and to this day, 3 years later, I still do a lot of these routines. I still time block. I still do my moment of reflection in the morning. Now, have I morphed it into my own thing now? Yeah, obviously. As you get to know yourself a lot better and how you work and everything,
Hmm.
you kind of transform these this stuff into your own. Um, and that's kind of when I'm teaching cohorts and stuff, that's kind of what I tell them. I'm like, hey, listen, this, you got to think about this as like your MOS school, right? So you're going to get a great foundation, basic foundation, everything, and high level concepts and everything like that. But ultimately, you take it, and as you go, you start there, right? And as you go, you morph it into your system, right?
Right, right.
And that's the great part about it, is when you start with the fundamentals, right? Then you have that great base, and it sets you up for success throughout your career.
Yeah, it's almost like, well, the way I think about it is just I learned a lot of instruction and education from the military, believe it or not, because the military knows how to educate and train the masses. Doesn't matter what your education level, what, like, they cookie cutter it so that, I still remember going through flight school and they were like, just shut up and press the I believe button, you know,
Right.
and it's just like, okay, I'm just going to do this and this and this and this. And eventually you go through the framework, you go through the steps enough times. What that allows you to do is, in aviation, they call this getting ahead of the aircraft, but basically time finally slows down. You don't feel like you're behind and you're constantly chasing and you're panting, you're trying to catch up and you can't even figure out what's what. You just go through the checklist, you go through the framework, you get your reps in, and then all of a sudden, everything just kind of like you hear that bass drop and everything kind of just slows down. You're like, wait a second. Now I can maybe make certain pieces fit me more. Or now maybe I can get a little bit, I have enough headspace and capacity to become a little bit more creative. And that's, I think that's one of the cool things of how we approach the cohorts is we're trying to make everything keep it simple, stupid, right? Like
Right.
just press the I believe button, pick a role, do this. There's four team members on there, and then you go through a simulated event of closing, or like analyzing, finding, and offering on a property, and that's because you need to get that rep in so that you don't feel behind and like just chasing your own tail when the real deal comes along, right? So I love that. I think it makes sense across business, military, all sorts of things.
No,
Um, and
100%.
so you never like you never even used your VA loan before getting into real estate. Like it would just was that just not something that was talked about in your units wherever you were, or were you always just like debt averse? Like why didn't you look into like you know that benefit? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, like I said, I've never really understood money, right? I've never understood.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I've
okay,
never
okay.
understood money. Money comes in, money goes out, right? Like,
Hmm.
and I'm kind of like, I was kind of like a kid in a candy shop. I have I have a steady job that's going to pay. It doesn't pay the best, right? But I have a steady job in the military, obviously, and my wife was a
Right.
teacher, so we were making, later on, we were making pretty good, money. But the thing is we always lived at the bar we set, right? Like, I mean, not set, but like this amount of money came in and that's the amount of money that got spent, right? And it's kind of
Right.
went on in life like that the whole time. And it wasn't until later on in my career that really kind of clicked and I started trying to save. And we had a little nest egg put together until real estate came along, right? And that's kind of the next piece and part of the story. But yeah, I mean, that's the reason I never thought about owning a home. Me own a home, like why? Like I don't that's not in the cards, man. And oh, by the way, the government,
Wow.
the government giving you free housing, it's easy, it's on base, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
and I will tell you, I really love community on the military bases, right? I know a lot of
That
people,
makes sense. I can see
yeah,
that. I can see
and
that.
I
Yeah.
know a lot of
Yeah.
people they don't. Oh, the wives there or the husbands there or what? You hear it all the time about different things, but I just love being a part of the community there, the community of events and the neighbors and the closeness that you got with it, and especially as through deployments and stuff. That's where it really kind of hit home because the
Hmm.
community really pulls together when
The
deployments are.
support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
it just never clicked to me, right? And it just never came to me like that.
That's fine. I was just curious because I think a lot of people can. I wanted to dig into that a little bit more because I think a lot of people can relate. And it's just for exactly everything you just described on why they didn't even look into this, and that's why I think it's going to be so much more powerful to be like, okay, so now your first big commercial deal.
Yeah.
Like how like did it just land on your lap? Did somebody tap you on the shoulder and say, "Look over here"? Like how did you find it? How did you fund it? Like walk me
Uh,
through that.
yeah. So I got into the multi-family cohort, and Tim Kelly and the others kept saying, "Take action, take action, take action."
Yeah, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
and I think that what they were talking about, well, I mean, take action, yes, but they were like, take action and do the steps that we're telling you and do your homework that we're putting you. I'm the type that I I look at I look at the what you're teaching me, and then I go to the end of the road, and I kind of zip through to get to the end of the road, right? Yeah, yeah, right.
Right.
And so yes, I did all the steps that was suggested, but also I took it a step further, right? And I said, okay, I know what I'm looking for. I know that I don't have a ton of capital to buy stuff myself. And there was a class that was given that's like, hey, if you don't have any capital, then basically you put in sweat equity and or bring a deal to the table, and that's your way in onto a team, right? And it was like the whole concept,
Right.
and that's my way. That's the way I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I can roll up my sleeves. I
Yeah,
got the drive,
that's right.
right? Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's I went out and I just started riding in the vicinity of where I was, and I started marking all the mobile home parks that were in my area, and I just kept driving about a 2 hour circle around my where I lived, right? And I just plotted. I still have the map of all the mobile home parks, and then I would go
No
by
kidding, man.
and talk to the owners and stuff like that, right? And tell them what I was doing, what I was trying to do. And anyways, I found this owner, right? And this is the crazy story. I found this owner, and I talked him into owner financing the park or whatever to me and all this stuff. But I had no idea what an LOI was, like to submit one formally. I had no idea where I was going to get the down payment from. I had no idea any of this, right? And the thing is this was a super heavy value add lift park, too, right? That's the reason this owner was so out to owner finance and everything. But still, I was over the moon. I brought it to the cohort and I said, "This is what I got. I have no idea what I'm doing here, but I got one. I got it." It's almost like having a big fish, and it's like, okay, what do you do
I
now?
got it. I got it.
I don't know.
Hey, Grandpa, I got it.
And from there was cohort members, people that were around me. We formed a team, and from that team, we scraped together the down payment between all of us. And yeah, and so we took it down. It's called a JV, and we took it down that way.
I, dude, like amazing. Like, but there's so many things that like I want to make sure that we don't gloss over because remember you said how important mindset is, and I think we need to dive into like there was a lot of mindset behind this transpiring, and I want to dig into this. One of the things was I can't remember how this quote goes, but it's something like, "As you take steps on the way reveals itself."
Yeah.
You might not have known how to actually do that. You just knew I just need to take steps, right?
Yeah.
And eventually the path revealed itself, right? So I just think that's an incredibly important mindset thing. There's so many people, there's like analysis paralysis when it comes to like the numbers, right? And like, oh, is this deal going to work? But there's also analysis paralysis of like, well, what if I don't find financing? Or what if I don't find a good team member? Or what if I spin my wheels on that thing? That is almost worse in my opinion because it's stopping you from action. Like in my opinion, like taking action doesn't mean jump to the end result. I'm buying a mobile home park. Sure, that's action. But in your case, I love this because like I'm obsessed with like how to connect data points. So like for example, we talk about it, especially internally in the team. Like there's lead and lag metrics. Like a lead metric is like something you control, right? So you're like, I can do this thing. I can call this many people. I can visit this many parks in this area, right? And then the lag metric is there's some kind of conversion rate where it's like maybe 5% of those will turn into, a potential contract, right? Or a potential purchase contract, right? And so you just knew that like you get enough reps and eventually you're going to hit that ball, right? And so you were like, and first of all, I'm just going to challenge you right now. Can you please take a picture of that map and unless there's unless there's something you're not comfortable with, and post that and tell this story, man, because that's so powerful. Like I don't know why the mindset, like most people would just stop dead in their tracks. They'd be like, I don't know where to find an apartment complex. You literally drove for dollars, got a map with the old land navigation Marine Corps style, right? Yeah. And you were like, I'm going to find these things. Yeah. I'm going to knock on doors. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to have the difficult conversations. I'm going to sound awkward as hell probably the first few times. Yeah. I'm not going to have all the answers, right? Yeah. But you didn't see the way, but you kept walking on the way and it revealed itself. And I just like, that is mindset right there. Like the fact that you had the gumption to just do it, even though you didn't know what you were doing 100%. Yeah. Wow. I love that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. It just was, man. It's not like, I'm telling you, like when I get into the mode, man, all I tell myself, dude, is like I said, no one else is coming to save you. Like nobody's going to put a deal on unless you say, hey, I have all this money, I need a deal, somebody bring me a deal. Obviously people are going to pour deals into you, but but just like I tell the cohorts, man, like if you're starting from zero, man, like you have nothing, right? And you're starting from zero, I can teach you what to do, how to do it, right? But literally, dude, you're going to have to make it up in your mind that it's not, you're not going to stop. You don't care what people think. You're going to get better as you go, and you just have to take action. And I just tell myself every time I get a little embarrassed, or maybe I pitch someone or go to somebody that's outside my comfort zone or something, which this is huge. All I think about is who's putting food on my family's table. Is it me, or is it going to be people that think that I'm doing something that's not going to work, right? The naysayers out there. Are they putting food on my plate? No, they're not. I am. All right. And so, and I'm gonna tell you, no matter where you are in life and what you're doing, if you're doing something outside the mainstream, other than getting a 9-to-5 job, and this and this is a law all laid out, and this is the system that you have to do. If you're doing anything other than that, everybody around you, you'll have tons of naysayers, and it's not because they don't care about you, right? They do care about you, and they don't want to see you hurt, in their eyes, fail. They don't want you to ruin your life or whatever else the thing is, right? But the big thing is you have to believe in yourself, right? First of all, you have to believe that you can do it, like in your soul, right? And the next thing is you have to make up and say that there is no way that an obstacle is going to get in my way from succeeding. No, there's nothing there. Like every obstacle comes in, either I got to decide, am I going through it, or am I going around it, or is there another way, right? But you never stop. And it's funny because once you get around some obstacles and you start having success, everybody around you that was naysaying, it kind of opens up their eyes, right? And now they're like, hey, what are you doing? How did you do that? Why did you do that? What's going on,
Yeah.
right? And all this kind of stuff. And I saw a post that you posted, and it says, and it's like green flag. You're working, you're working too much, or you're killing yourself, or something like that, right? It was like,
Or people tell you,
yeah,
why do you work so
that's right. Why
much?
do you
And
work
then,
so? That's right. Yeah, I saw you posted that, and I was like, that's absolutely right, man. Because a lot of
well,
people,
the other
yeah,
part of that, sorry,
yeah,
not to interrupt, but like it was the early, like, it's hard to identify, in my opinion,
mhm,
when you're in the trenches taking action. It's hard to identify the real green flags.
yeah,
And the early on in your journey, the green flag is people being like, they might not say those exact words like, why are you working so hard? They just won't get you, and they'll look at you confused. They might even be frustrated at you. That's actually a green flag, because later down the road, a lot of times, so those same people might come to you and be like, well, don't forget you're lucky.
yeah,
The same people
yeah,
will come around later down the
yeah.
road. So don't be don't put yourself down when you hear
That's right.
like green flags that are because they're camouflaged. You can't see them.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
you don't realize that's a green flag.
yeah. No,
Right.
and you're absolutely right about that. And that's what I'm saying is you almost, not almost, you do have to become obsessed, right? And this makes people,
Crazy,
yeah,
in fact.
this makes people uncomfortable, right? That are like
Yep.
the people that are on the fence. It's like, I want a better life for myself, and I want to make it big, but then they make all the excuses why or why not, right? But the thing is you like, I wish I could, like, I tell people all the time, I wish I could take this and just put it, like, and give it to you, not because of what I know, but like the feeling and what I've went through and what I've accomplished, and like the stuff that, like, it's hard. The day-to-day grind of making this work is hard, but the results, when you get, when you finally hit results and stuff, it's worth it. And you can tell somebody that all day long. And matter of fact, when you're telling people about the grind, that actually hypes people up. They're like, yeah, I can do that. That's not that bad.
Yeah.
But like, when you get into the fire, right, that's forging you, right? Like, now that's when everything that I'm saying, the no one's coming to save you, the remember, don't quit now. Why would I tell myself not to quit now? Well, you got it all. You got it, everything. No, no, I don't, right? Don't quit now, because you don't know how close to success you really are. Because I don't have it. I'm going through the fire still, right? And that's just always my mentality on this. And it makes people uncomfortable when you get around people that see the world one way. They believe that they can work themselves to wealth. You cannot work yourself to wealth. Wealth is built. It's not built
Yeah,
overnight.
otherwise the mule would own the farm,
That's
right?
right. Absolutely. And people don't understand that. Even people with jobs that are paying 150, $200,000 a year, whatever, what happens if something happens to you, right? And you can't work anymore. Does that money keep
Mm.
coming in? No, it does not. And so the thing is that's what motivates me. That's what makes, they're like, I had a question asked to me the other day. When is enough enough though? When is enough enough? When I don't have to look at my bank account, ever again. When I have a stream of passive income that's coming in that could sustain me and my lifestyle for whatever, right? But me personally, like, it's not a greed thing. It's not. I have to stay in the mindset that I'm an underdog, right? All the time, every time, I have to be being pushed. If not,
I love that.
then I take the gas. I take my foot off the gas pedal, right? And it so
I honestly think that this might be controversial. I think it's healthy to never be fully satisfied, because that's what keeps you growing as a person. And I believe that has trickle down effects if you have, well, if you truly deep down inside want to be better in all ways, not just like maybe making money, but if you're approaching it holistically, you become a better dad, you become a better husband, you become a, or whatever the case may be, right? And you become better in many other ways in your life. And like if you approach it that way, I think it's, in what you focus on might change. Like eventually be like, okay, I got enough money in the bank, but now you're driven by something else. Now you're driven by something else.
Yeah.
And I think that like Grant Cardone, love him or hate him, he said something a long time ago that I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's like, you have to have a goal after the goal, because after you hit the goal and you have nothing after that, you're going to get depressed. And I think we of course there's all these bad examples of people that are workaholics, but like I don't think that they were doing that from the right, again, mindset.
Yeah.
They were doing that was maybe their drug, you know what I mean? And so I want to touch on a couple of things, and then I want to have you help me tell the story. And I'm not even going to tease it out yet. So first, I wanted to read a quick quote, because you said like some people like the grind, and I was referencing this recently. I heard it on a podcast somewhere, I can't remember, and I was just like, oh my god, this is awesome. But people that are, in my opinion, like going to succeed, that are A-class people, they like a challenge, right? And so there's this quote. It goes, this was like, I don't know. Oh, in 1913, there was an expedition to Antarctica by Sir Ernest Shackleton, and he posted an ad in the newspaper. Okay. Brilliant ad. All it said was, and I think this is the right one, it says, men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success. And he was swamped with job applications. Yeah. Swamped. And it's like, I mean, it's similar to like the Marine Corps recruiter be like, show me that you can do the pull-ups, man. You know what I mean? And so like, that just resonated. I wanted to toss that out there. You mentioned 2 points. You said you have to believe inside that you can do it. I think even like building your own belief is kind of like a lag metric a little bit, right? So I used to have to remember times when I succeeded to help myself know that, okay, this is another one of those times. I called it the positive mental feedback loop. I'd have to remember like that one time I got an A on a test or something, and be like, okay, well, when I started learning that material, I was mind blown. It was so difficult. And then like, put one foot in. So like one of the things I think that you can take action on to help yourself believe in yourself more is do so much to where, I think Hormozy said this recently, like do so much to where success becomes inevitable, to where in this case, maybe growing your own confidence in yourself becomes inevitable. Like, you don't think you can, shoot that basketball in the hoop? I guarantee you throw 10,000 times, you're probably going to get a lot more confident, right? So just make it to where it's inevitable, that there's no chance in hell that you're not going to grow the belief and confidence in yourself. And then another thing you said, like, there's no such, like, any obstacle can get overcome. I think Marie Forleo says, like, everything is figure outable. Like, that's her famous quote. Like, I'm telling you that I see people's eyes light up when I imbue that. When I just don't worry about a challenge, I'm just like, no, we'll figure it out. People get excited. Like you can see the brain chemistry change when they're just like, oh, really? Okay. And I think that helps attract people to you in your life. And when you have the right people that are excited by that, you guys have more throughput, more power, and you guys can do things together more. I didn't expect this to be such a big mindset conversation, but like, gosh, like it's everything is figure outable.
It is.
Right? You said something, you said it's worth it, right? After you put in the work, it's worth it. Yeah. And there's I'll never forget this, because you called me, I think it was first week of October or something. And I think, and I would love for you to tell me if I'm right, but I think those was one of those moments where you worked so hard to be able to have a life that you could say, wow, this was worth it. And you called me about your daughter's track competition, right? Can you tell me like what happened there? Like, what was this whole situation, and why was that so important to you? And then like, why do you think that I was just like, oh, Joe, absolutely. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my daughter, she plays soccer. She's very good at soccer. She's running. So this is her first year running track, and it was a big challenge for her, and it didn't come easy for her. And so Yeah, there she is. She hasn't been doing good all year and everything. But to rewind a little bit, ADPI, you would ask me to speak at ADPI Con or Recon. That
The military real estate investing
that's
conference.
that,
Right,
that's
right.
right.
Mil Recon. Yep.
Yeah,
We renamed it.
yeah. Sorry, but yeah,
No, no, you're fine.
yeah,
You're
y'all
fine.
had asked me to speak there, and it was such an honor, and I was filled with such gratitude for that honor, and I think I've told you this before. I just for the opportunity of doing that, and the belief in me to allow me to do that was amazing, and I'm
Absolutely.
like, if nothing else, I'm a man of my word, and I really, when I tell you I'm going to do something, like I figure out a way to make it happen, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's I've always lived by my reputation is, if you boil it down, all I have is my reputation at the end of the day, right? And so I put this up on a pedestal, and it was a very big accomplishment and an honor, and I know how much work that y'all had put into the conference and the scheduling. I had kind of watched the emails go back and forth about switching and all kinds of stuff, right? And all that. Well, now back to my daughter. She went to the state qualifying race, and this was about 2 weeks or a week before I was supposed to go to the conference, and zero expectations on that at all. But my daughter, she had told me, she's like, I have to hit 20 minutes. My coach said if I hit 20 minutes, then I'll qualify for state, right? Because that was like the way that they do it, that they have like a cutoff time. If you're at this time, then they take you to state with them or whatever. Anyways, she had come nowhere close to that time this whole time, and I watched out my window here as she trained, and she ran up and down the dirt roads and everything here. And anyways, we went there on the day of. We prayed together, and her prayer was, "Lord, just let me do the best I can, and don't let me stop, even if I hurt." Right? And then dad feelings come up, and and I prayed over her, and so she gets out there, she starts running, and like, I'm waiting by, it's about a quarter mile from the finish line, and everything, and I'm watching the clock, I'm watching,
Right.
and anyways, and I prayed, I said, just let her succeed, Lord. And so she literally ran up the hill, and it was like 1920, and she had, x time, I mean, x distance to run, and I was just like, ah. And so I'm like, I started calling off times to her and running beside the ropes and like yelling at her to keep going, keep going, dig deeper, and like pushing other parents out of the way and stuff. It was crazy. You should hear my wife talk about it. But anyways, we got there, and I looked up at the time as she was crossing, and it was like 1955 or something. So she came in 5 seconds faster than what she needed to qualify,
Wow.
and she started crying once she got her breath, because she had accomplished something that, maybe. So back to your point, maybe she didn't even believe that she could do it. I didn't have the greatest hopes in the world, but
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. But once she prayed for it and really wanted it, and she didn't pray for, deliver me 20 minutes. It was just, don't let me stop. And
Do my
yeah,
best, right? Yeah, yeah.
basically,
Do
let me
my
do my
best. Yeah.
best, right? I was like, dad
Yeah.
feelings got all involved. And
Yeah.
and so we're all excited. We're going crazy. We're hugging and everything. Once that wore down, once that wore down, I was like, so when is state anyways? And they said, October 10th, which was the day that I was supposed to be on stage speaking. And oh, by the way, I was supposed to speak at, I think it was like 11 or something like that in the morning. And her race was at 9. So there was no chance of me, doing it early,
Right.
flying, getting there, and doing it. So it was completely.
Yeah, yeah.
And so at that moment, I had a decision to make, whether, which way I would go with this. Do I go to my daughter's state, tournament, which my wife was saying she's gonna have more. Like, don't think about it that way. She'll understand, with this stuff, because my wife knew how important the conference was to me,
Right,
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 and
right.
everything. And so I did a lot of soul searching and stuff, And I know that it may not seem like a lot to some people. Like this might not even been a choice for some people. Like oh, I would have chose my daughter every time. And, and it was a hard decision though, right? Because but my wife was like, "Hey, you're there at every match. You're there at everything,
Mm-hmm.
and she'll understand, right?" And so it was a big decision. And ultimately, I called Markian and I said, "Markian, man, like, dude, I'm super sorry about this, and basically like I have to choose my family. That's the reason I'm doing this, right? And this is what I prayed for. I prayed to God before I had success to allow me to have success for that way I could have more time with my family. And I didn't miss these moments, right? Because I remember my father never being able to get there, and I remember the impacts that I had on me, right? So this is what I prayed for. And yes, it would have been easy for me to say, no, I'm going to do this because this advances me, or it's for ego or for whatever else, right? And I gave my word to Markion that I would do this and all this other stuff. And probably nobody would have blamed me, right? But I would have known, and I think it was a test to see if I was going to be a good steward of what I've been given, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to your credit and to ADPI's credit, y'all are completely family oriented. And when I told you this, you were like, dude, like what? Like, yeah, no, we completely understand. And the even bigger surprising part of that was that you called me back later that day and said, hey, I think we can get you in on Sunday. And I can make Sunday. I was like, yeah, I can make Sunday. That gives me that night to get in there, and I can make it. And you gave me that opportunity. It was a wonderful opportunity, and I loved it, and I couldn't appreciate it more.
Dude, it was our pleasure. Absolutely. It was just, I don't know. To me, it was like a crescendo of everything that our organization stands for, and somebody who maybe our organization helped get into real estate, now teaching other people. Like, it just mattered so much to make sure that everything you worked for, what was worth it, and that that this situation didn't make it more difficult to experience the things that you feel like are making all this hard work worth it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's interesting, like when you say things like you were describing earlier how your dad, you know, left before the morning even started, before the sun was up, and was back when the sun was down. And I was like, it's just, I know that I'm still taking like what I have personally for granted. Like I get to take my kids to school every day. Like, it's so cool. Like, it's not, and I even though my 2-year-old, we pulled him out from like the early childhood development, so now we just have like a 5-year-old and almost 8-year-old going. And so I'm not supposed to be like walking them in. I'm supposed to just drop them off, but like I pretend like I still have the 2-year-old with me. I just still have the badge, and I'm just like walking them all the way up to their class.
Yeah.
I try to say every day, I try to say try hard,
Yeah.
right? Like, outcome is one thing, but like just keep trying.
That's right.
It's just so cool. Like, I get to do that. I get to take them to soccer. I get to take them to jujitsu.
That's right.
Sometimes I blame myself because I'm like, texting somebody, or I'm still on my phone, but like I'm at least there, I feel like.
right.
And that's so, and I, and that's just, I could never give that away.
No.
Like, it's just so incredible that's, a place where, honestly, like, and it's just going to sound cheesy. It's like, it is the entrepreneurship, and a cornerstone of that is real estate, that is allowed me to do that, because I just know that that's not the norm. And if you're listening to this and you're just like, just know that I'm like, I don't think Joe and I are gloating or any, like, if we want to just inspire, honestly, we just want to help. We just want, like, and I don't know.
Well,
I guess that's my
yeah, I mean,
message.
especially
Kind
especially for the veterans that are listening, we want to enable you and inspire you to get out there and own more of the dirt that you fought for, right? That's 100%. And like I tell everybody that comes to the cohort and that I meet or whatever, they're like, I genuinely want to see you succeed. There's nothing like that's one of the boxes that I check with working with ADPI and everything like that, is that like I love it, man. It's spiritual to me that I help as many people as I can live the best life. We only get one, guys. Like there's not a redo here. We get one. How do you want to live your life, man? Like, do you want to take it by, take the bull by the horns and just take it? Or do you just want to let life happen to you, man? Like, and I hope that if somebody that's listening gets inspired by this and understands what I'm saying and what we're doing here, is that I'm not saying that it's easy, man. Like, it's not. It's literally not easy. Every day that I wake up, it's not easy, right? But I've burned the boats. I have made sure that this is my path, right? And it's not about money, right? The faster you chase money, the faster you chase it, the faster it runs away from you. All right. It has to be about something bigger than money, about greed and everything like that, right? And I make it about people. I make it about improving people's lives every day. Everybody says I want to do something or whatever, and that's the reason my whole thing is making the world better one community at a time, because I'm one of those guys that, left up to my own apparel, like I start with an idea and then the idea gets huge, so big that then I'm like, all right. So I had to bring, like, I'm thinking about how I can improve, third world countries, and how I can bring better stuff to them, and bring mobile home parks and affordable living there and stuff. And so I said, you know what, Joe, you're not there yet. Let's bring this down to attainable goals at this present moment where you are, right? And that's the reason I say one community.
Build the momentum.
I
Yeah.
can one
Yeah.
community at a time. That's hundreds of people at a time that I can affect their lives, essentially. And as I grow, the goal and my inspiration grows, right? And so that's kind of the way I've always lived,
Dude,
man.
that's wow. Guys, if you're not inspired by this, I don't know. You must be numb, because that's sensational, Joe. Thank you so much. I don't even know what else to say other than, hey, I really want to make sure that our listeners right now, like you guys, take action, whatever that is for you, whatever you don't, it doesn't have to even be real estate. It doesn't have to be mobile homes. It doesn't have to be apartment complex. It's just, I'll leave everybody with this, because one of the things you said is you burn the boats. I think I joke around sometimes that I have like a lazy bone in my body. Like, I have to force myself to I have to create situations to where there's almost no going back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, I just know that about myself. So like, I say this a lot of times. Like, my friends used to joke that I was a social butterfly. Like, I could not disappoint my friends above family at one point. When I was growing up, like, for whatever reason, teenager, college, like, that was like, friends were everything to me. And so when I was in flight school, I would like ask for my, fellow flight school friends to meet me at Books A Million to study, because I knew I was going to fail if I didn't study. And I knew I wasn't going to study if I didn't have people expecting me to study with them. So I was like, let's make a meet. Like, there's no walking back. I couldn't disappoint my friends, right? That's kind of like why I started ADPI. I wanted to have a group of people looking at me and creating just massive peer pressure, right? Or I remember, like, I signed on the dotted line on my first multi-million-dollar loan, and it was like, there's no going back now. You know what I mean? I was like, I have to succeed. And so if you're one of those people and you're listening, and you're just like, I don't know what's going to, like, how do you guys have this motivation? I'll tell you, you do some of these things, you really think deep. I think we're all smart enough to figure out, like, what is a burn the boats moment? Okay, I'm not trying to put you all in danger, or take you have you take on risk that's not recommended. You only know your life, and you're the master of your own ship. But like, sometimes, at least for me, it sounds like it is like that for Joe. We got to burn the boats sometimes to make ourselves do something that's of that magnitude.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Markian, y'all have done an amazing job with ADPI, and it's growing at a pace that's awesome. I'm just here to watch it, and I'm kind of, like I said, I'm in awe of the things that y'all are doing, and the resources that you bring to people, and the impact that you're having in bettering community. I can't talk more highly about it, and I'm proud to be a part of this organization.
I'm going to turn all red here and thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Well, it's honestly built on the shoulders of our community members such as you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. Please post the picture of that map and tell that story in the community. I would love that. That's going to be awesome. I'm going to repost it on Instagram if you don't mind, or something. I just think it's really cool. But do you have any parting words, or we can totally wrap it up right now? Because we ended on a good note, I feel like.
No, my parting words is this: if you're no matter where you are in life, whether you're desperate and you feel like you have nothing, right? Or if you feel like you just need a challenge and you have everything, right? You can always push yourself to a different place, right? All it takes is action. All it takes is desire to improve your situation. That's all it takes, man. And there's so many people. You'd be surprised how many people are out there that will help you improve yourself if you just reach out and you get for the knowledge. And with that, man, just keep living life. It's the only one we get. Make the best of it.
You only live one life. That's true. Thank you, Joe. It was an absolute pleasure again. Hey, ADPI, if you want to contribute to our mission of impacting 3 million military families, I just have one favor to ask. You don't have to like subscribe or anything like that. Just share. Share this message. Share Joe's story on Facebook, Instagram, wherever. Email somebody, text somebody. You know, think of it as a donation, as a contribution, paying it forward. Text it, email it, share it 3 times. Whatever you can do. It really helps the military community, it helps the veteran community, it helps our mission. And I know Joe will love to hear people reach out to him, tell him that his story inspired him. So thank you, Joe, again. Thank you, ADPI Nation. That's a wrap.